75 years ago today, an event happened that would change the course of history, and the effects of this event can still be seen today. I am talking about the attack on Pearl Harbor, early on December 7th, 1941, at around 7:48 a.m. Hawaiian time. Military aircraft of the Imperial Japanese Air Force attacked the naval base at Pearl Harbor. The Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor in two waves, consisting of 353 fighter planes, bombers, and torpedo planes. 6 Japanese aircraft carriers were used to launch the aircraft. There was a third attack wave considered, but it did not happen. In addition to the 6 aircraft carriers, there was also 2 battleships, 2 cruisers, 1 light cruiser, 9 destroyers, 8 tankers, as well as some submarines, including midget submarines. The U.S. Navy had a variety of ships at the harbor, including 8 battleships, 6 cruisers, 30 destroyers, a U.S. Coast Guard ship, and 49 other ships. This was in addition to the airfield that had hundreds of U.S. aircraft on it. After the battle was over, all 8 U.S. battleships were damaged, 4 of those being sunk, most notably the USS Arizona. 6 of those 8 battleships were able to make a big enough recovery to be used for the war effort. The Japanese inflicted damage or sunk 3 cruisers, 3 destroyers, as well as an anti-aircraft training ship. 188 U.S. aircraft were destroyed in the attack. It is estimated that 2,403 Americans were killed, with 1,178 wounded. The Japanese losses, on the other hand, were not as severe. The Japanese lost 29 aircraft, 69 of them were killed. One person was captured by the name of Kazuo Sakamaki. In addition to those losses, the Japanese also lost some of their midget submarines. Within hours of the attack on Pearl Harbor, the Japanese military also launched multiple offensives against other U.S. locations. These included Guam, the Philippines, and Wake Island. The Japanese also began offensives against territories of the British Empire. Such territories were Hong Kong, Malaya, and Singapore. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt responded to the attack with a speech that itself has become famous, starting off with Mr. Vice President, Mr. Speaker, members of the Senate, and of the House of Representatives. Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy, the United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. On December 8th, the United States declared war against Japan. Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy also responded by declaring war against the United States on December 11th, and the U.S. responded with the same action. The Japanese military intended for the attack on Pearl Harbor to be a preventive attack. They did not want to have the United States interfering in the Pacific. However, as history shows, it did not work out the way the Japanese were hoping. One of the major issues with the attack was that American aircraft carriers were not stationed at Pearl Harbor at that time. Thus, the Americans had no damage done to their aircraft carrier fleet. The attack ended America's strong isolationist policies and standings. Pearl Harbor resulted in the United States going to war instead of avoiding it further. This led to a massive buildup in armed forces for both the Pacific and European theaters. This giant military force would result in the United States becoming one of 2 superpowers along with the Soviet Union. The United States entering the war eventually led to the defeat of all 3 Axis powers and the beginning of the Cold War until it ended in the early 1990s. Today, the United States remains a big military powerhouse. Pearl Harbor was a factor in this happening. Since it is also still young by historical standards, it will still be remembered for a long time to come.